Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome. Born in Ghana at young age, I moved to the Netherlands, Europe, as a Christian. 40 years later, I left Holland as a convert Muslim, making Hijrah to Morocco with my wife and 2 daughters. Alhamdulillah. My story is about having faith, transformation, drama, and strength. I had just returned to Agadir from my trip to Holland. I secured the infrastructure for my specialty coffee web shop, Alhamdulillah. In Holland, we had also visited the hospital and doctors for our firstborn. We had noticed that she was having difficulties breathing at night, and daytime a lot of sneezing and more. We had to investigate whether it was an allergy or worse, A'udhu Billah. Now back in Agadir, I was stressed, awaiting the results from the hospital lab. The next day, I took the car and went for a car wash in Al-Huda, Agadir, my favorite spot. Al-Huda is a popular, fresh neighborhood with plenty of development, Alhamdulillah. It's located right next to Agadir's biggest university campuses, which gives it an international and academic vibe. Now that my dream had come true, living in Agadir, I felt at peace. This is where I wanted to be. This is where I could drop dead and you didn't need to move me elsewhere. I feel so happy there that I even considered lowering my ambitions, buying a taxi and become a cab driver. I mean, if you feel at ease, nothing else matters. This is how good I felt there. No striving, just living, feeling illuminated from within. I had made it, Alhamdulillah. We went to the beach a few days later, and my wife told me the lab results were in, digitally. Alhamdulillah, not something big, but crucial, very crucial. Turned out our daughter has dust mite allergy, a small bug that's common in homes, even the cleanest. I'm not talking about the bed bug, a dust mite bug. It's 1/4 to 1/3 of a millimeter long. You can't see them without a microscope. Key part, they thrive in humid environments above 50%. Agadir, right on the ocean and great sun year-round, has year-round average of 60%, reaching up to 85 and 90%, alhamdulillah. Allergy to dust mite makes one get a runny nose and snoring at night. The runny nose also makes breathing harder, 24/7. Boom, red flag. Crucial management decision required, inshallah. I remember standing there in the water. The ocean reminded me about the harsh reality side of life. Waves, they never stop, alhamdulillah. I'm used to the relentless waves of life, but living somewhere great made it a greater counterbalance. But this wave was forcing us out of our beloved Agadir, alhamdulillah. Like Homer's Odyssey, my quest for feeling at home was back and full on. We quickly found out desert climates have the lowest air humidity. such as Marrakech. We decided to go check it out. Explore Allah's lands, inshallah. Marrakech, the city I had appreciated in the past, exploring Islam. Now, as a father, Marrakech seemed totally inappropriate. We value child-friendly public spaces, family entertainment spots such as parks and more. In the previous visits we made, it seemed those are very scarce in Marrakech. Marrakech seemed dulled to me. The good stuff was available behind paved walls, if you understand what I mean. My perception was nightlife and tourism. A boring city for one who makes Hijrah with his kids. Inshallah, I will continue to document what is to know about making Hijrah to Morocco. Subscribe to join me on this journey, inshallah. Which direction was Allah telling us to go? Was this evolution? Alhamdulillaah, we already have family living in Marrakech. My wife is Moroccan and her brothers had made Hijrah years before us, Alhamdulillaah. Firstly Tanger and now Marrakech. I had pre-scheduled a house viewing at the north side of Marrakech in Palmarais. Looking for a family home is totally different to one if you don't have kids. The ingredient list is longer. Being Western expats, working from home, homeschooling, and creating an effective yet entertaining environment isn't easy nor cheap. Thorough research is key to get the right result. I always say a home isn't too expensive when it ticks all your boxes. My brothers-in-law had invited us for a family day trip to a nearby lake, Alhamdulillah. Nephews and nieces got to play together. Salah, barbecue and bad jokes. You know how it is, Alhamdulillah. It was a lovely day and showed us that Marrakech had an attractive side once there. Suddenly, we had gotten some very alarming news. A senior family member had fallen very sick and was rushed to the intensive care. If you know Moroccans well, you know that family is everything to them. Literally everyone drove and flew in immediately, mashallah. He was in hospital in the north of Morocco, Al-Hoceima, 800 kilometers drive from Marrakech. At least a 9-hour drive. We all packed up and left immediately, arriving in Al-Hoceima that same day, Alhamdulillah. Who remembers this scene from Heat?
Well, you know, for me, the action is the juice. Amen.
This lesson was when I was working in sales and doing managing sales teams. This was even the important criteria for me to work with people. You don't send ducks to eagle school. And this lesson goes for personal relationships too, not only in business, you know. That's why it's so important to be on the same page with your spouse or your partners and even your kids. You need to see the same thing, and they need to see what's required to acquire the goal. Look, if they got something in their mind and the goal is like 2 kilometers away and they are focused on 2 yards away, obviously you'll have a hard time. And obviously you'll have a hard time if people don't understand themselves what is required to make this thing work as a team. Self-motivated is key. It saves you a lot of managing and a lot of intervening and trying to get people moved towards the right goal. So save yourself some time there and make sure that everybody knows what is to be expected, inshallah. If the goal is set like a 5-hour drive and the ones you're moving with are focused on a 2-minute drive or a 20-minute drive, or they're even not motivated to go the 5-hour drive, what are you doing? It is your task to manage your projects and your goals. And one of the things that comes with it is making sure that the people you move with know what's required. If you're moving with people who lack the vision or the motivation or even the skills, well, manage that.
We booked an apartment on Airbnb and stayed for several days, until we were sure his condition had stabilized, Alhamdulillaah. This was my first time being in Al-Husima, the region where my wife has her roots. Funny thing is that it felt very familiar. I got a unique vibe there. One I also felt in my homeland Ghana, subhanallah. It gave me a new understanding of why my wife and me are such a cool match, Alhamdulillah. On our travel back to the south, I was more relaxed, obviously. Alhamdulillah. It is reported that Ayyub salam lived in Syria near Damascus. Allah had granted him great wealth in the form of lands, herds and servants, and he had a devoted family. With all that, he was a humble man of great piety, constantly glorifying and devoutly thanking his Lord. Allah then tested him with a series of calamities. Classical Quran commentators say that Allah first tested Ayyub salam by suddenly stripping away all his wealth and property. But Ayyub remained firm and constant, not shattered or even shaken by this disaster, and continued to glorify his Lord. Allah then took the lives of Ayyub's many children. This too did not change him, and he continued to be steadfast in service and devotion to his Lord. Allah then took away his health, afflicting him with terrible pain and suffering, and such loathsome ailments that people shunned him. Still, Ayyub's faith and serenity remained undisturbed, for his heart was with Allah. It is said that there was no one on the face of the earth more honorable to Allah than Ayyub alayhi salam. Ayyub's disease lasted so long that his companions left him, and visitors were disgusted by him. They expelled him from his city and threw him into a refuse heap outside the city, and people abandoned him and boycotted him. No one remained sympathetic to him except his wife. She would care for him and always recall his earlier good treatment of her and his love of her. So, she nursed him and looked after his welfare and helped him to fulfill his needs and stood by him. His condition deteriorated and her money decreased to the point at which she served people for wages to feed him and provide for his other needs. May Allah be pleased with her. And
she was very patient with all that occurred as their wealth and children were taken away from them. Thus, in addition to the calamity of her husband, she suffered from lack of means and was obliged to serve people after having had wealth and happiness and servants and honor. To Allah we belong and to Him we return.
Gelijk een eentje denken. Een beproeving, we hebben het al gehad over dit stukje in de vorige uitzending. En musiba, als het jou dichter bij Allah brengt, is het dan nog een musiba?
Het is een minha.
Het is minha.
Het is een cadeau dat je krijgt van Allah. Het is een gunst.
في ثنايا المحن منح.
Nou, dus, maar dat is hoe een mu'min ermee omgaat. En daarom zegt de profeet sallallahu alaihi wasallam: "Ajaban li amri al-mu'min, inna amrahu kullahu lahu khair." Alles wat hij meemaakt in het leven, brengt alleen maar het goed aan hem toe. Gunsten maken hem dankbaar. En masa'ib maken hem geduldig. Dus zo'n musiba verandert in dankbaarheid, verandert in geduld, verandert in het tawakkul, verandert in het dua. Zorg ervoor. We hadden gezegd dat bepaalde mensen die maken dingen mee en die krijgen een musiba en die hebben niet door dat het eigenlijk gewoon een gunst is van Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Want dat zorgt ervoor dat jij, die niet bezig was met jouw dien, je bent op een gegeven moment je komt terug en jouw pakt met Allah wordt heel sterk. Je pakt jouw gebed op. Je verlaat bepaalde zonden, bepaalde mensen om jou heen die slechte invloed op jou hebben, verlaat je omwille van Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala om ervoor te zorgen dat jij beschermd bent. Dus zo'n musiba, zo'n beproeving, kan ervoor zorgen dat iemand er beter uitkomt. En als je het vanuit dat perspectief bekijkt, dan is het geen musiba meer. Dan is het geen musiba meer. Dan is het juist iets dat jou naar de dien heeft teruggebracht. En daar moet je Allah dankbaar voor zijn. Dus dan is het weer, dat is een ni'ma en daar dank je Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala voor.
تبصرة عن كل ضلال أعددنا بضع رسالات تحمل نور